Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. JustusRStone here, and today I am restarting a series that I have left in limbo for just too long, and that is my discussion videos on the Pandora Hearts manga. I really enjoyed this. Like about a year ago, well, a little less than a year ago, I started doing manga reviews on volume 1s, and one of the volumes that I really loved, and a lot of people were like, geez, I'd love for you to go through the whole series, was Pandora Hearts. And I did the first 3 volumes, and then I've kind of been really lax on getting back to it. So I'm fixing that now, and I'm hoping to have more regular videos on Pandora Hearts until I finish the series, especially because I think the last volume has just been released in English, so seems like a good time to kick it back off and to actually be able to finish the series. So if you're not familiar with these are spoilers. This is a discussion video. It is not like my light novel reviews or any reviews that I do of volume 1 type mangas. This is a full-on spoilers. I'm going to be discussing about specific events that happened in the manga and sort of theorizing about what may be coming ahead. I haven't read volume 5. I don't do these videos until I don't read any future volumes until I've done a video, so that these are just my reactions and thoughts to this immediate volume without knowing what happens next. So, with a spoiler warning out of the way, let's get to it. So this volume, we start off in the first sort of section with a little bit of a funny hijinks type story where Gil, of course, has lost his hat in the village. Well, actually, it was Oz that lost Gil's hat. And so Gil, who is very attached to this hat, decides that he's packing everybody up and they are going back into town and they are getting that damn hat back. And they end up having to do an arm wrestling match with a bunch of the street thugs. And in the midst of it, Oz's uncle shows up, and there's sort of this odd sort of reunion between the uncle and Gil, because Gil, of course, feels that he betrayed Oz's family by going to the night rays so that he could master the use of Raven to rescue Oz, which seems kind of stupid to me in a way, because, like, you did it to help Oz, so, you know, the end kind of justifies the means. But I guess Gil, he's got a real serious complex, so it doesn't really happen. Apparently he's done nothing but run away from Oz's uncle this whole time, and so this is sort of the point where the uncle's like, yeah, you can't get away, we're gonna face each other. And then there's this really nice moment where the uncle's like, you've grown into this great man, and you're not sure whether he's saying it because well, I mean, it seems heartfelt. I think he's saying it because he means it. But at the same time, he uses Gil's kind of slack-jawed, like, oh my god, kind of reaction to beat Gil in the arm wrestling match. And again, we see this thing with Oz. Like, this kid he's a great character, and he is scary, man. Like, he goes to arm wrestle that one dude, and he's like, yeah, before we start, let me tell you something. And we see, like, this scary sort of expression on Oz, and the dude is, like, withering away, and Oz just kind of, like, smacks down his arm and wins. We don't know what he said, but again, like, Oz is capable of being pretty frightening, really. And then, of course, Alice goes and breaks the dude's arm, and they end up having to run away, but hey, they got Gil's hat back. But this whole thing is really just a setup. It's, first of all, just to give us that little bit of warmth and character growth between Gil and Oz, and reuniting with this sort of father figure that he had in his uncle. But the main thing, the main reason this exists, is to separate Alice from Oz and Gil. Because Alice, seeing these emotions and this warmth and this sort of family thing, all of a sudden she can't handle it. She can't stay there, and she runs. And this is what sets up the majority of the volume, which is Alice getting kidnapped by the Cheshire Cat. Now, of course, Break, being this crazy dude that he is, shows up as Alice is about to get kidnapped, because he is actually using her as bait. Because the Cheshire Cat, as we learn, lives in a dimension all of his own, so he's not actually a part of the Abyss, and he feels no need to come to our world. So the only way to get to the Cheshire Cat is to be pulled into his dimension that he rules. Now, we find out that Break's main motivation for this is because he feels that the Cheshire Cat has information about what happened 100 years ago. And he makes notice to the fact that the Cheshire Cat is a unique chain, much like Alice, in that neither one of them, well, Alice is unique, he says, because she does not need to consume human beings, which is what other illegal chains, like with illegal contractors, do. The Cheshire Cat is unique because he can exist without having a contract with anyone, doesn't even seem to need or feel the desire to have that contract. Now, Oz and Gil find out what's going on, and so Sharon offers to help them enter into the Cheshire Cat's domain. As it turns out, her chain is able to hide in people's shadows and is able to act as sort of a portal to where that person is. And so she transports Gil and Oz into the Cheshire Cat's domain. Now this whole thing turns into a bit of a cat and a mouse, chasing the Cheshire Cat, trying to kill Gil and Oz, and they end up coming face to face with Jack Facilius, which is Oz's, previous, I guess he'd be what, his great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather? Essentially, he was the head of the dukedom when this massive tragedy happened 100 years ago that sort of revealed the abyss to everybody. And is it any sort of wonder that Oz looks identical to Jack? I mean, identical. Even Gil, when he first sees Jack, somehow thinks that it's Oz older. And this is something this is a theory of mine, because another, in the last volume, Break says to Oz, he's like, "Hey Oz, where are you?" And they mention that again in this one, they reinforce that, because the Cheshire Cat kind of says to him, it's not like you're even here. I've beaten the crap out of you and everything else, and you're hardly even reacting. It's like you're not even really here. And it seems to be sort of this, as if Oz is missing parts of him. And we see this in Alice, right? Because Alice is missing all of her memories. And she's trying to put them together and figure it out. And we realize that Alice, the Alice that we know is a chain, but if she is actually linked to the girl whose memories she's getting, she was an actual human being. And we learned that it's Alice herself that tore apart her memories and threw them apart. And I'm thinking that it's these fragments that become different things. I'm thinking that the intention of the abyss is a fragment of Alice. And the reason she's so in love with Oz or obsessed with Oz, or however you want to sort of see that warped feeling that she has towards Oz, that it's because he's a fragment of Jack. And that would also maybe explain why his dad, quote dad, had such a vile sort of reaction to him, because maybe Oz is the product of an experiment. Maybe Oz never really had a mother, and maybe that's why Break was like, sure, there's rumors that, his mom was killed, but maybe that's not true. Well, maybe he never had a mother. Maybe Oz was somehow created by Pandora or by the family to help them gain control of the abyss, because that seems to be the ultimate goal. And it's the Baskervilles we find more in this volume. We have a bit more discussion about the Baskervilles. It's the Baskervilles that seem to be blamed for triggering this whole thing that caused the abyss to appear. And we find out that not only do the four dukedoms have a door to the abyss, but so do the Baskervilles. They have a fifth door. And maybe this is why the Baskervilles want to get rid of Oz. Maybe they realized that he was a key to the abyss. That in a way it was almost like they were going to use him to supersede the fact that the Baskervilles have the fifth door. So this is where my head's going out with this series so far. This is how I'm seeing it, because we're seeing these things play out with Alice in terms of she's a fragment, and all these different fragments of herself seem to have sort of a life of their own, or seem to influence other things or places where they are. And Alice herself as a chain seems to be a component of that. And so that's why I'm thinking, yeah, this has got to be it. Not to mention that we see that, like Jack says, that she was always this lonely girl, and all she had was her cat, Cheshire Cat, and her dolls, which the abyss is filled with these sort of mangled dolls and these dolls that have been warped and twisted. So we're seeing that the existence and life of this girl are reflected in sort of a horrible way through the abyss, which is why I'm thinking that they're tied together. Like, this is why they're tied, and this is what's going on. And I am sure at this point that Oz is somehow connected to this, and especially when Jack in this says that he's a fragment of Jack's soul wrapped up in Alice's memories. That, to me, I was like, dude, this is why Oz seems like part of him's not there, because that's the truth. There is a part of him missing. He himself is just a fragment. That's my theory. So far, another great volume. Lots and lots of reveals, like the whole thing about Alice and her memories and that she was the one that threw them away. The Cheshire Cat is an interesting sort of character because we're led to believe that he's driven, that he's very devoted to the abyss, and yet it seems that his devotion, like his thing, is to protect Alice's discarded memories, and yet he wants to destroy Alice. So this is where I'm thinking, like, her memories have to somehow be important to the abyss and the intention of the abyss, which is why I think that the intention of the abyss is a fragment of Alice. So there's lots of sort of little tidbits and lots of things to think about and lots of information. And I haven't even mentioned the fact that it looks like Vincent sent Echo to kill Sharon because Break wasn't around. I guess we'll see how that plays out in Volume 5. But I mean, it was so funny, right? Like, that was only like 2 frames. It was just Vincent saying to Echo, like, I want you to do something for me. And then we see Sharon, like, doing her thing. Then we just see, like, Echo's feet, which I thought was awesome. It's like we don't even see all of Echo. We know it's her based on those boots and just the bottom end of sort of her dress. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in Volume 5 and how all of this information plays out. And of course, the volume ends with Oz going in search of Alice within the Cheshire Cat's domain. We'll see if there's more answers. I'm thinking at this point, like, this is only Volume 5, and I know the series goes to, I think it's Volume 24 is the last one that was just released. There is a lot of more story to tell and find out, so I am really looking forward to it. My goal at this point is to have one of these videos out every other Wednesday. So every other week there will be a Pandora Hearts video, and in between weeks, I'm going to get back to reviewing manga volumes number 1s, so discussing different series that I just check out and sort of, this is what I think. So those are my thoughts on Volume 4 of Pandora Hearts, the manga. I am finally getting back to it, and it feels good because I really had almost forgotten how much I enjoyed this series. And I'm pretty hyped to read number 5 now, and I'm going to be doing that so that I can be here in 2 weeks' time with another video. Click on the subscribe bar above my head or in the link in the description so that you can keep up with all my future videos, including my whole series on Pandora Hearts. I've got links over here to my left for my light novel reviews as well as my other manga reviews. And if you feel like reading something a little bit different, I do write books, and you can read those or check them out down in the bottom corner. So thanks so much for watching. Hit like if you like the video and you want me to keep doing these things. Well, I'll probably do it anyway, but it's awesome to see that you actually like them. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, bye-bye for now.